Hello, everyone. Here we go. Survivor finale predictions. That's the one and only thing we're talking about today. Zach, how are you today?
Man, I'm nervous. This is about to be a big week coming up. We've got
Yeah.
the premiere of Spider-Man No Way Home.
Ooh,
We've
that's right.
got the finale of Survivor. We've got episode 5 of Hawkeye. We'll be seeing Dear Evan Hansen this week
Yeah.
together. I mean,
Fantasy suites for Bachelorette too.
fantasy suites for Bachelorette. We've got a lot going on in the world this week. So
hmm
to there's a lot riding on this though.
Yeah.
So
Um.
I'm
So
nervous. I don't
let's
know how
cut
I
to
feel.
let's cut to the chase. You are ahead of me now by 1 point because you had Danny one spot lower. And honestly, if he hadn't won immunity, I would have taken a big swing because Ricard would have most definitely been going home. But yeah, no, you took the swing because Danny went home in a very weird split vote. I want to talk about this for a sec because um, you know. Everyone says, let's split the votes between Danny and Deshaun in case Danny has an idol. I think it was
Right.
good on Danny to make people think he had an idol because then, they split with Danny and Deshaun. Um, but then why wouldn't Danny and Deshaun vote for someone else? Because if 2 votes are going for Danny, 2 votes are going for Deshaun, why didn't they put 2 votes on Xander and try to flush out his idol? Or put two
Right.
votes on Erica if she is this threat? Or to put 2 votes on Heather just to have another option? Like
Right.
I didn't understand the logic behind not putting votes on someone else and like just voting for each other because like, oh, it's gonna be one of us, so we might as well just vote for each other. Like I don't like that logic. But I don't know what how do you feel?
I don't really know. So this is how I felt this whole episode was kind of just like, wow, everyone's just kind of like looking one single way for the entire episode. And it
hmm
feels like this is how it goes pretty much every episode. Everyone's always looking at one specific thing for the entire episode, getting one specific person out. They're it. You're getting them out.
Yeah.
And then when things go haywire and someone wins immunity, I mean, no one really ever has a plan. And I think that's Danny and Deshaun's downfall going into this tribal is that they don't really have a plan.
hmm
I think once we saw it. They once you take out Shan, you just chink away at the armor, and
Yeah.
that's what happened. That's exactly what happened. I
hmm
feel like
Yeah.
unless they had an actual plan um going into the tribal that wasn't immediately squashed, like getting Ricard out, but Ricard winning immunity. I mean, like there's
Yeah.
you just kind of like they're not walking in with a plan, and I feel like they could have flushed out a Xandra idol. They could have
Or even
taken
gotten
out.
rid of him. Because
Well,
if it
right,
comes to a 3-3-3, a 2-2-2 tie, maybe Ricard, Heather, and Erica say, well, maybe get rid of
right.
Xander. Anything could have happened. I have 2 questions now. One, do we think in retrospect getting rid of Shan was a bad move, not for Ricard, but for Deshaun and Danny? Or do you think the bad move was then the next week when Ricard was vulnerable, voting out Liana instead of Ricard, which is Xander's bad move? Which
I
one do you
think
think is a worse move? Do you think Danny and Deshaun voting out Shan was a worse move? Or do you think Xander voting out Liana was a worse move?
I think both were bad moves. I think
I
Xander
agree.
voting out Liana was a worse move
I agree.
I mean, like the thing with Danny and Deshaun is that Danny and Deshaun probably always either leave or are most vulnerable, even with Shan there. Getting rid of Shan was a bad decision for them in the short term, but in the long term, it probably wouldn't have mattered. I think that they probably still end up kind of in this position that they're in,
Yeah.
and it just happens to maybe flip where Deshaun's at the bottom and he goes first, then Danny leaves, then Liana leaves, then
Yeah.
Shan leaves. I think Xander getting rid of Liana is a worse move
I agree.
because Ricard. I mean, and maybe he's got some big plan that we all just can't see, and I'd like to imagine that, but I don't know. I mean, Xander has something over Liana. He played her at that first tribal before
hmm
before the merge. He played her at that tribal. So you take her to final three with you, she's gonna lose. I mean, even with Deshaun and Danny and Shan all voting for her, he probably has Evie. He's got probably Tiffany in that game. He's probably got Ricard over. He's probably got Ricard over Liana. He's probably got Nasir. Like getting Liana to the end with him probably would have made more sense. And I understand that for him, the risk of keeping her in and wondering if she's going to plot to take you out is a little
hmm
too much. But
Yeah.
you've got an idol, and that to
Right.
me is that in a
Yeah.
normal game, in the normal realm of the game, you've got the idol. Even if she plots to take you out, even if you feel you're most vulnerable, you have an idol and you play it,
Yep.
and no matter what happens that night, you're not going home, so you
Yep.
can make it through another week. But
Mhm. Yep.
he would rather not take that chance and get hurt out and probably lose to the better player at the end over
Yep.
making the big move.
Yeah, I think he's been talking about Ricard is my shield, Ricard is my shield. I think the idol's your shield, dude. And if
Idols you
because I
shield.
think honestly, Deshaun and Danny getting rid of Shan, I think it is a good move. Because now you can kind of rope back in Liana, which they were able to do. All they needed was for either Xander or Erica to flip. Now, if they get one of or two of them or both of them to flip, get Ricard out, then yeah, for Xander, he's looking at 3, Liana, Deshaun, Danny against him, Erica, and Heather. But then you know what? You have your idol. So then the
Right.
3 of you can still take out Liana next, and then Danny and Deshaun are on the bottom again. And then I
Right.
think it's easy because then Xander can go with Erica and Heather. And honestly, I think he would swipe the floor with both of them because as
Yeah.
much as I've loved to see Erica's gameplay, I don't think it's been flashy enough. And
No.
Heather obviously has no shot. So it's like, I think that was his path to victory. But I think keeping in Ricard was dumb. The other question I have for you is what do you think of Deshaun's truth bomb? Because obviously it was his last saving grace. In the moment, I thought it was a dumb move because why would you create this tension when you don't even know if you're going home? The plan was to get rid of Danny, as we saw, they did. But why not wait till that happened and then afterwards use that for the next vote? Because here it seemed like doing that only made Erica and Heather that close to turning on him and voting him out instead. And if that had gone poorly, if they had not stuck to the plan, I think they were just so set on getting rid of Danny. If they hadn't stuck to the plan, I think Deshaun would have been screwed because he just shouldn't have opened his mouth. That being said, maybe though this is a good idea because they ultimately did get rid of Danny. Maybe they're looking at Deshaun as someone they could beat at the end because he's this, he's having these outbursts and these breakdowns. Maybe it was a good move. Do you think it's a good move or not to have this big truth bomb and to make it about Erica and Heather opposed to someone like Xander or Ricard, like a bigger player?
I'm gonna save my answer. It's
Okay.
big, and there's a reason
Okay.
for it.
All right, great. So why don't we get into our rankings? But before we do, I mean, salute to Danny. Probably one of my favorite ex athletes to play this
Yeah,
game. And I
and
think next to Brad Culpepper, I think because Brad Culpepper got second place, but Brad Culpepper got second place on his second time playing. I think on a first time playing, no ex athlete or at least ex
has
NFL
ever
player
made it this
has
quick,
made it
this
this
far.
far. I mean,
Good for
sixth
him.
place for Danny, and to not get a vote until this episode, and it is a tie. And if you find that idol, like it's Deshaun going home, like there's a chance
Right.
if he found that idol, he would be safe and he'd be in our final 5. And honestly, he could have won challenges to win. Like he is an all around great player. I don't think
Agreed.
he got the screen time needed to ever come back on a future season, but I'd love to see him back if he ever does want to play
Right.
again and they want him back. Great player, and I am sad to see him go because honestly, of these 6, after this episode especially, like he would have been the one I'd want to win at this point.
Yeah. Oh
Just because
yeah.
like I think some players are like fun to watch as characters, but like I don't love some of their game decisions as we've talked about just now.
Right.
And then some of them I just don't think have played enough of a big game. And then there's one person who's played a good game, but he's not as likable, and it's tough. But yeah, salute to Danny. Zach, let's break down how we're gonna do this because this is gonna be a different method than the previous times because the previous times
Right.
it's whoever the boot is we get that many points like you
Right.
had him in 5th, I have him in 4th, but this time how we're going to do it is we're going to just go from the bottom to the top. So we're going to go 5th place, 4th place, 3rd place, 2nd place, who we think the winner is at the end, and depending on how far off on placement we are, we will get that many points deducted. So for example, if I'm just going to use our friends, so Zach, Rachel, Lori, Maya, Dylan, if that's my prediction, assuming I win, Dylan at 1, and that's exactly how it goes. What I say, Zach, Rachel, Laura,
Yep.
Maya, Dylan. If
Yep.
Dylan wins, Maya comes in 2nd, Lori 3rd, Rachel 4th, Zach 5th. I would get 25 points. But if it's the total opposite, then Zach wins, then I get only 1 point for that because I'm 4 away.
Right.
1 point for this, 1 point, yeah, or 2 points, 3 points. I don't know, but depending on how far off you are in placement, it'll make more sense tomorrow, next week
If
when
you
I
get
have the
it,
graphic. Yeah.
if you
If you
get
get
it
all of it right, you get
if you
25.
get it exactly right, you get 25.
If you get all of them
If you
wrong,
don't,
you get 5.
yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah. And to get them all wrong, you would need whoever's 5th place to win, and then you'd need the winner in 2nd place, 2nd
Yeah.
and 3rd, 3rd and 4th, 4th and 5th.
I
That's
was
going to
gonna
be
say you
very
get
rare. I
basically
think
it's you
we're
get
going to get 3rd place right. I
yeah.
hope. We'll
Uh,
see.
I don't know. I don't
Oh, I don't
think
know.
I don't think so. I think
Okay.
I had like a random I feel like I had a stroke when I wrote this, but
Okay,
I
no,
wrote
that's
it,
okay.
so I'm gonna stick to it.
Yeah. So how the finale works also is the first immunity challenge happens, and then and then all five of them go to tribal and vote. It's a normal vote, just as it always is. But this is the last week for Xander to play his idol, and we know there is another idol hidden. If someone finds it, it will be the last week for them to play it as well. Then at final four, say it's me, Zach, Maya, and Lori. If I win immunity, I can pick one of the other three to take to final tribal council, and the other two have to duke it out in a fire making challenge. The loser is the last person on the jury. The winner gets their spot in final three. And you are allowed, if you win immunity, to say, I want to play in the fire making challenge against so and so or so and so as a potential way to show off in front of the jury. Only one person has ever done that. I don't know if it's a good strategy because you put yourself at risk of going home. Sometimes you take the safety. Only one winner has been brought to the end. There's a lot of different ways you can strategize that. And then of the final three, the jury votes. Whoever gets the least amount of votes, third place, second place, and first place. That's how it
Right.
goes. So, Zach, who do you have going home in this first tribal council in fifth place?
Oh man, I'm gonna really regret it.
Don't. Hey, don't.
I I have Heather going home.
Wow.
I
Okay. So
know.
so this is not the same as
So
mine. So we already know we're
no, no,
different.
no, 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 no. So
Explain.
I did that. I did that on purpose because I
Okay.
mean I didn't do it on purpose. I do want there to be like a fun like element. Like I think we're
Mhm.
gonna be very different.
Also, strategically, she's not going to be in the top two because
No,
she's
no,
if
no,
she
no,
makes
for
the
sure.
final tribal council, she's getting zero votes, and if she goes out
Right.
before, I think it's a good strategic pick putting her that low because then you're
So
guaranteed to get a minimum 3 points.
so the thing that I like about this cast, and again, I've never watched before, so this is my first time, and a
Hmm.
lot of people are saying that this is a very different type of
Yeah.
season than it normally is.
Hmm.
The thing that I really like about all of them is that they respect game. They respect game. They respect the game when it's being played, and I feel like going into finale, and I could be wrong, but again I'm trusting myself on this random gut feeling. I don't think any of them are going to want Heather there with them. I mean, she's easy to beat, but like so is Erica realistically. I mean, Erica is an easy beat again for someone like Ricard. Erica is an easy beat for someone like Xander. I mean, it's not like she's done nothing, but she hasn't really won an immunity challenge. She's got
She won one.
no
Yeah,
she yeah, but like
but it was
and
when they were
wasn't
broken into two sides. Yeah.
right and she's basically got no resume overall. She's got nothing.
Yeah.
And she would have gone home if not for the hourglass. So I think that Erica is a goat that you can take along with you to the end. But Heather just feels like I feel like Heather is very useless. And I feel like Deshaun is gonna see that and be like, I don't want you there.
Hmm.
Xander is gonna see it and be like, I don't want you there. Ricard is gonna see it. I don't want you there. And I feel like I feel like it's going to be one of those things where they look at it and they go, we all deserve to go to the end and duke it out, especially like Ricard, Deshaun, and Xander. I can see being like, you know what? We've all made it here. Let's go to the end and duke it out together. Let's do it. And then they just get rid of her, or they split it between Erica and Heather, and we see what happens from there.
Hmm.
I know that that's a weird pick. I
Yeah. I
probably
mean,
am going to eat my words for it, but I don't know. I had an inkling about it, and I think it might
mhm.
be what happens. I think it might
Well,
be what happens.
Heather has something to do with my number 5 pick. I didn't put Heather there. I think you know where I put Heather. I alluded to it earlier, but I think this truth bomb. I think in the moment, if it had gone poorly, Deshaun goes home. If it had not gone poorly, which I don't think it did go as poorly as we think, honestly, I think if anything, this might have created a rift between Erica and Heather. I have Erica in fifth because I do think
Wow. Okay.
here's the thing. I think she is someone who, yes, she doesn't have a flashy resume, but if she gets to the end, she's very well spoken. And I feel like she can make the jury realize that she had more moves. Like, for example, splitting the vote between Liana and Shan. That
Right.
was her move to ensure that if Shan played an idol, it wasn't her. If she says that to the jury, if I was on the jury, I'd be like, oh, shit, wait, you're right. And the fact that she is the one who did do the hourglass, she can look
Yeah.
at people like Tiffany people like Xander, people who lost that challenge say, "Hey, I saved you because I flipped the
Right.
hourglass. If I hadn't flipped the hourglass, one of you guys would have been going home." That's a plus as well. And I think she has these little moves. I don't think we, the audience, have been seeing them as much, so I don't think she wins. I think if
Right.
she were to win, she would have had a bigger spotlight when she did the split vote and when she did the hourglass even further. Like, I think we would have heard about the hourglass every episode if she was the
Yeah.
winner. So I don't think she wins, but I do think if she gets to the final, she's well spoken enough to get votes. So I really don't think she's going to make it to the final three. That being said, she got a really good confessional about how she really wants a woman to win, and that's the only reason why I'm a little hesitant to put her here. But
Right.
in my mind, I just think Deshaun having this truth bomb happen, I do see a world where Erica and Heather almost want to go at it. And Deshaun might be able to use that and say to Xander and Ricard, "Hey, we're the three best players. Why don't we just like work together, get out
Get rid of them.
Erica here?" Because Erica is, I think, in their minds, I think Erica's a bigger threat than what we are seeing as the audience.
Right.
So I think they were going to want to get rid of Erica if they can. And this rift between Erica and Heather, I see a lot of people think entertaining the idea of getting her out there. So I have her at 5. I don't I this is the least confident I feel. Like I feel really good about my top
Yeah.
3. Really not sure about these next 2. But Zach, who's your number 4?
Oh boy, I told you, Dylan, I'm gonna
So
rock the
this is who
boat.
you think. This is who you think is going to lose in the fire making challenge.
I think Ricard's gonna lose the fire making challenge.
Okay, so
I
talk
think
to me about
Ricard's
that.
So here's the thing about Ricard is that I feel like Ricard is your obvious winner. They've made it very clear that he's the obvious. I think overall from the season, he feels like the obvious winner because
Even though
he's
he's like the
got
villain, even though he's like a villain.
yes,
Okay.
because he's got the game for it. Shan saying, "You got my vote for a million." Every time he's coming in with these strategic moves, and they're giving him these great confessionals. Every time they highlight him winning an immunity challenge, I feel like it's building to something, and I
Mhm.
feel like what's going to happen. Because here's the thing: Ricard is a villain, but he's the most likable person in the cast, I think, right now.
Okay, yeah.
Because all of my other people who are likable, Danny, uh, Abby, Tiffany, Nasir, all of those people have gone home. They've all left.
Good point. Yeah.
So Ricard really is kind of left here at the end, and I'm sitting here like because Xander very likable, just
Mhm.
doesn't have too much to offer right now. Deshaun really likable, but constantly in the middle of the drama. I feel like Ricard is a sturdy rock, and they are very good at highlighting him. And he's been very present on social media this week. I feel like what's going to happen, and again, I could be wrong. I
No,
feel like in
social
the
media is
press,
a good way to read into it too. I mean, like that, you have to read into that because
I feel like
Someone like Sydney being all bitter, I should have seen coming that she would have a really outrageous boot.
I I feel like in the pressure of the moment, he's gonna lose. I
Okay,
feel like
so
he is always the one in these challenges. You see Xander. If I can give kind of an idea, I'm not
yeah, yeah.
gonna.
I was gonna ask you
Uh,
like, who do you think is gonna win the immunity? Who do you think they take, and who do you think they send to fire baking in this
I
scenario? Because
think
your final 4 is Deshaun, Erica, Ricard, and Xander. Like, how do you think that plays
I
out?
think
Final 4.
Deshaun wins immunity.
Okay.
He takes Erica with him and makes Xander and Ricard go. And
Okay.
I honestly, because if I'm Deshaun, that's what I do. I
Yeah.
take
No,
Erica with me.
I agree.
I put Xander and Ricard against each other. And
Mhm.
I feel like the other thing is I'm looking again at the edits. It's always Ricard and Xander up against each other. Have you noticed that? It's always them in that last kind of
Yeah,
leg against
I
each other.
agree.
So I think what's going to happen is and it's always about, especially with the do or die, Deshaun going out so early that makes me feel like they highlighted that so heavily that it's going to be like a redemption that he wins that final immunity and gets to take himself to the final tribal. Um, and then I feel like he's going to say, "Of course, I'm taking Erica with me, you fools. I'm not going to leave her. I'm not going to leave that up to chance." And I feel like he's going to Xander and Ricard. And even though Xander doesn't always win against Ricard, he is always the most level-headed in the challenge.
Mhm.
Ricard is constantly wavering. I feel like in that final moment, Xander's going to get it, and it's going to be a heartbreaking moment. It's going to
Yeah.
be
Mhm.
heartbreaking.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think it would give a lot more to his redemption arc if he is to come back again. Because I think right
which
now,
I think he
I
is.
think at the top of the list is Shannon Ricard for sure. On bringbacks, just based on like fan reception too, just like that
Agreed.
emotional, that duo and how much they've been through. They may not be the most likable. Like I think Nasir and Xander would be the two that I think the
Yeah.
fans have liked the most, but I do think the production has liked Shannon Ricard the most.
Yeah.
Um, I actually kind of go a similar route. The way I picture it, Erica's gone at this point in my predictions. At this point, whether it's because you said Xander and Ricard are winning everything,
Yeah.
one of them wins final immunity. If Ricard wins final immunity, I see him taking Heather. If Xander wins final immunity, I see him taking Heather. Like I just don't see anyone putting her in fire making. So the way I think about it, I think this whole season, I think the two big rivalries that we've seen is Xander and Liana. That's been dealt with,
It's
and
already
also
gone.
Ricard and Deshawn. I think
Yep.
because Ricard with the do or die says, I kind of hope he dies, you know.
Right.
And then in this episode too, it's kind of like the whole like we got to get rid of Ricard, and we keep missing our shot. I think Xander wins this final immunity, takes Heather, and it's this epic showdown: Ricard versus Deshawn. I just think Ricard just comes across to me like more savvy as a fire maker because we did see episodes and episodes ago Deshawn trying to make fire saying I can't figure it out, and Sydney is the one who was like here, and that was like her story was that she could make fire when Deshawn couldn't, which makes me worried if Deshawn's in this fire making that he loses. Another thing I could see happening, because Deshaun is my number 4, another thing I could see happening is Ricard winning immunity and saying, "Hey, I just broke the record." Because if he wins immunity at Final 5 and Final 4, he will have 5 individual immunities, which ties for the record all-time immunity wins.
Wow.
If he wins both of those immunities, I could see him in this last immunity saying, "You know what? I want to be the one to seal Deshaun's fate because at the end, I want to be the one." Because if Ricard takes Heather, there's a good chance Deshaun beats Xander at fire, and I don't think he would want to risk that. There's a chance
No.
Ricard says, "Hey, I'm going to go up to fire against Deshaun," and he beats Deshaun, and that's how like that's his winning story. And I don't want to spoil the rest of my ranking, but like I think this is going to come down in my brain, it's going to come down to Ricard and Deshaun in fire, and whoever wins that is going to likely win the season. Like that'll be the last nail in the coffin because those two have been kind of the most present in the edit. They've been the best strategists.
Oh,
I
this is
really,
crazy.
I
I
really
know.
think
I now know
whoever,
how the rest of our ranking goes, and it's
yes,
very interesting.
I really think whoever can take out the other has the best shot at winning. Will they get it? Because you could always flub a jury vote, like a final
Right.
tribal council. So even if Ricard gets the final 3, he could be such a douchebag that they don't vote for him. That could
Right.
always happen. And then like someone like Xander or Heather or
Right.
Deshaun or Erica could win. But I really think Ricard and Deshaun in fire making just makes the most sense for me. Whether it's Ricard giving up immunity and doing it himself, or putting Xander in fire against Deshaun, I think he takes Heather to the end, or he gives it to Xander and Heather and takes on Deshaun and fire. But I think Deshaun loses fire only because I don't think Deshaun's particularly good at fire, and I don't see anyone bringing Deshaun to the final. I think the only way
Right.
Deshaun gets to the final is if what you said, if he wins that immunity, and he would also need to survive that first vote, which I at first when I put this together, I put Deshaun at 5
I
only
know.
because he's on the outs, and I was like, how is he going to survive? But I really think Deshaun is just such a big figure in the season. I just see him going out in an epic way, like
Yeah.
you kind of said with Ricard in a
Yeah.
fire making challenge.
I don't see him at 5th, and it's
Yeah,
the same reason I don't see
I agree.
Ricard at 5th
Yeah,
either. I think.
we have the
I
same
think if
idea. Yeah.
And I think, honestly, truthfully, if Ricard or Deshaun don't win Final 5 immunity and you don't get rid of them, I mean, you're idiots.
Hmm.
That's
But there's
that's truly
also
how I feel. There's
another
an
idol.
idol. There is an
So
idol out for
honestly,
play.
what could happen is Ricard wins that final 5 immunity and Deshaun has the idol, and
Right.
that's how someone like Erica or even like you said Heather goes home because
Right.
Xander also has an idol. Because here's the
Right.
thing: if Ricard has immunity, Xander has an idol, and Deshaun has an idol, there's only 2 options.
Right.
So someone
It's
like
only
Heather
the two
could
of
get
them.
screwed that way.
Right.
She really could. Who do you have at number 3 then? Who is your person losing with the least amount of votes at
So
Final Tribal?
man, it's funny because I feel like our ranking is about to get very similar for the same amount of
Yeah,
ways.
yeah,
And my
yeah.
third is Erica. And
Okay,
it's
yeah.
kind of for what you said before. I just feel like she doesn't, and kind of what I said before. Erica is the perfect person to go up against in the end because even though she's got this fierce lion of Luvu story
Hmm.
edit, I don't feel like she's got a ton to back it up.
Hmm.
And against my other two, she's got even less. She's got way less wins overall. She's got a lot of luck and a lot
Hmm.
of people kind of pushing her along because they kind of needed her at the moment for a second, and
Yeah.
then being like whatever. But I feel like Erica is your third because she
Hmm.
doesn't have too much to
Yeah.
offer to the jury.
And you have to look at the jury and who's on the jury, and a lot of the people we this is the first episode where I realized just how short this season is because this is a shorter season than ever. Ricard
Yeah.
was like, "I've only known these people for 10 days."
Yep.
10 days? Someone like Shan, Evie, Tiffany, and, Liana have not known Erica very long and have not known
Not
Heather very
long at
long.
all.
Spoiler alert, Heather's my number 3 because I think if she makes Final Tribal, she's not getting a single vote, but, like,
No, no, no,
I
no
I
way.
I think I think they're in the same boat where, like, unless it's Deshawn, Heather, and Erica in the finals, I think it's going to be hard to get those Ua and Yase
Yeah.
votes because they know each other better. Like Shan, I don't see her voting for anyone but Ricard in the end if
Yeah.
Ricard's there because she knows him. And even like Tiffany and Evie, I see them voting for Xander no matter what
Right.
because they know him. Liana's the only one I'm iffy on because she just does not like Xander. But like even then, I think she knows Xander better than anyone else, and maybe she would go for Xander. I think she would go Deshawn if he's there. But you know, I really think it's going to be hard for any of these Luvu members to get those votes from
Right.
non-Luvu. I think the only guaranteed vote is Danny. But then if you're up against another Luvu, Danny's going to go
Right.
for Deshawn or someone else. So that's why I have
Right.
Heather at 3. I just think same with what you said at Erica. I think we both have Erica and Heather in the same position where like one of
Yeah.
them's going to go early in the finale because of lack of screen time. One of them's going to be our final tribal council
Right.
loser because of lack of screen time. And it's not anything against them as players. It's
Yeah.
just they have
And
not had a flashy game.
someone is
Yeah.
just sandwiched in between
Mhm.
each of them.
Yeah,
Like that's really it.
yeah, and I agree. Like someone who goes on fire is going to be like a big character, and that's why
Yeah.
you have Ricard, I have Deshaun. And the thing is, I think Erica. I think I am a little bit more on the Erica train than you are, in the fact that like I do think she
Yeah.
has made big moves. Like I think
Yeah.
that I could keep coming back to it, but splitting the vote between Shannon and Liana was a
It
genius
was
move.
brilliant.
I just think it's going to be a matter of if she can get the jury to see that because she has
Right.
not done anything flashy. Like she has not
Well,
gone on an immunity run
right.
like Ricard. She has not had that do or die. I mean, Deshaun, the past 2 tribals, has just soaked up all the attention to where if he's sitting in the end, I think he has a good shot because he just has been such a focal point of these tribals. And I don't think Erica has been a focal point. I think she'll need to really pull out the guns in this finale if she is going to be in the final and does have a shot at winning. Because I know there are some Erica truthers out there who think she's going to win. I've seen truthers for everyone except for Heather, really, at this point. I think there are people who are saying, yeah, no, Deshaun's definitely going to win. Some people are saying, oh, it's definitely going to be Ricard. Some people are saying, no, it's going to be Xander. What are you
Right.
kidding? And some people are saying, guys, are you looking at the edit? It's Erica. And so, like, I'm really not sure between those 4. Who do you have at number 2, though, Zach? I'm wondering if we have the same person.
I've got Xander at number 2.
We do. We have the same
Yep.
person. Okay. And why is that?
Right. I feel like the thing with Xander is that I feel like he doesn't have a ton to offer. Not in the way that he doesn't have a ton to offer, meaning like I'm
The
trying to
resume.
figure out the
It's the resume.
yeah,
Yeah.
and overall, like he doesn't have what Deshaun or Ricard will have as a final pick in the
Hmm.
way where they will be able to say how much they overcame. He got to
Hmm.
sit on an idol for pretty much the entire season.
Yeah.
He got to pretty much just ride coattails, made one big flashy move, and then that was kind of it.
Yeah.
Sailed through to the
I
end.
was about to say, I'm looking right now at the Survivor wiki. Xander voted right in the first tribal. He voted out Abraham. But then, hear this. He did not have a vote for the next tribal when Voce went home, and he probably wouldn't have voted Voce out. The next tribal he's available for, he votes for Deshaun. Sydney goes home. Next tribal, he votes for Nasir. Tiffany goes home. The next tribal, he's not in it because that's the Nasir boot. And then the next tribal, he votes for Liana. Evie goes home. The next tribal, he votes for Liana. Shan goes home, and only because everyone voted for Shan on the revote. The next tribal, he puts 2 of his votes on Liana because he
Right.
has the extra vote, and she does go home. The next vote, he votes for Deshaun. Danny goes home. So I really think the only 2 times he has ever voted correctly, except for ties, is the Liana boot and the Abraham boot. And if you're
Right.
sitting there, as likable as he is, and he had that really great moment at the fake merge where he said, "No, but you can have this fake." And even then, I've said Tiffany has a lot to do with it. Also, I don't just give it to Xander that all the credit, but
Right.
like I think for a viewer, he's one of the favorites. But I really think if you're sitting out there and you say, "Dude, you only voted correctly twice," you were out of the loop so much, and I just worry
Right.
that in the end, he's just not going to be able to sell a move because his move
Yeah.
was taking out Ricard and he didn't take it. So I really don't see what his move would be to sell to the jury, except for the fake idol or the fake idol, which I think Tiffany and the jury could be like, that was me, you, and Evie. That was not just you. You were the one who performed and executed the acting well, but like,
Right.
what has his move been? And it's sad because I
Right.
really like Xander, and I think of the five, like if I had to root for someone in this finale, it's probably him. But like, I just
Yeah.
don't see how he
I
wins
just
at this
don't
point.
think I don't think there's a winning moment for him, and
Mhm.
I think that's where he's going to suffer.
And I could even see if he's in the final three, like your final three, I honestly could see Erica getting more votes than Xander, honestly. And
Yeah,
it's crazy. I think if he's up
I
against
honestly
Heather, he'll
think it
get
will
more
just
votes than
depend on
Heather. Yeah.
how I think it'll depend on how they sell themselves, truthfully. I think
Yeah.
it'll depend on how well they sell themselves and
Mhm.
what they do to sell themselves.
Yeah, I could see Xander walking away from this as a no vote finalist. Like him and
Right.
Heather. In my final three, I have Ricard, Heather, and Xander. And if I honestly could see Ricard getting every vote, unless there's someone who's a little bitter toward Ricard, like a Danny
Right.
or maybe like a Tiffany or Evie. But like, I really don't see Xander getting the votes. And it's sad because we've both been such fans of him. And earlier, it's funny because preseason, your pick was JD, mine was Ricard. And then halfway through, I said, "Oh, I think it's Deshaun," and you said Xander. And now it's
Yeah.
funny because now you're predicting Deshaun, and I'm going back to my preseason pick of Ricard. It's really
Right.
funny how this is shaped up. But your number one is Deshaun. Tell us why you think Deshaun's going to win this game.
So I think it's going to be Deshaun, and the reason why I'm feeling so confident is that I feel like Deshaun, if he was so Deshaun has been a constant presence right there from the beginning, and we got to we've seen him in every single episode, kind of like with Ricard.
Hmm.
But I feel like the biggest difference between the big thing that's giving me, like I think he has what it takes to win now is this episode kind of sealed it for me. The
Okay.
fact that
Yeah.
he was able to just like bomb everything and kind of like leave it out there all on the table was absolutely insane. And the fact that he got away with it was even more insane. And the way that the
Hmm.
jury is looking at him and they're going, like, you're leaving him here.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
Why did you get rid of Danny? They all feel the same way about it that he is,
Hmm.
which is he has not only made flashy move, he's been at the other end of all of these different deals. He can get there and say, I was supposed to go home 3 times, and the first I do or died, and I stayed.
Hmm.
I flipped the vote and I stayed. I did this and I stayed. And I feel like
Hmm.
the fact that and also not for nothing, I feel like Danny's going to vote for him. Shan's going to vote for him. Liana's going to vote for him, and
Hmm.
only be and I feel like if it comes down to Ricard and Deshaun, I feel like it is going to be hard for Shan to decide. But I don't think it's going to come down to the
Hmm.
both of them. And I think that's the big reason why things are going to kind of go the way that they're going to go.
Hmm. So I think Ricard beats Xander, Heather, and Erica
100%.
in any final three. Like I think Ricard has a resume. I think I agree. Deshaun has a resume to beat Xander, Erica, and Heather. I think it would be a lot closer with Erica and Deshaun. I think, but like I do still think Deshaun has a resume. The question is, if Deshaun and Ricard are both in the final two, who do you think wins? Because I'm predicting Ricard in the final three without a Deshaun. You're predicting Deshaun in the final three without Ricard there. If they're both in there, who do you think wins? I don't see it a world where they're both in the
Probably
final three, but who do you think?
probably Ricard,
Okay.
but I don't think it's likely that they'll both
Yeah.
be there.
Yeah. I have Ricardo at one. I think I kind of go the same route with you with Deshaun, where like whoever takes out the other wins the
Yeah.
game. Because I really think those are the two best players right now. I think the viewers also think Xander, but like I think
Yeah.
the jury is looking at Ricard versus Deshaun. And if Ricard
Right.
can win out, I think that's so impressive already. And the fact
Right.
that he has made moves, like he has won out after he's gotten out his biggest threat. Like he's won when he needs to, not just out of
Right.
convenience. But he did have that earlier win in the
Right.
merge, and like there's very good chance they could have just turned on him and sent him out if Sydney had won that challenge. So like I really think he has won when he most needed to, and that already is a selling point. And getting rid of Shan, I think if he's in the final three, he wins. And I just
Right.
it's a question of if he gets there, and I think he will get there. And just because he's my preseason pick, it would be kind of cool to
Right.
see him win. Just because I ahead of the season I said a flight attendant, everyone's gonna love him. And the thing is, it's the opposite. I think everyone
It's the
is like
opposite. They
sees him
all
as
kind
the
of hate him.
schemer, hate him, but because he's good.
Right.
But not good at the things that they thought he'd be. Like I thought he would be a target because he's a good social threat, but it's the
Right.
opposite. It's because he's a strategic threat and a physical threat. I mean, you're looking at these
Right.
people. I would think Danny or Xander or even Nasir would be the physical threats. It's not. It's
Right.
Ricard. I think that's pretty unconventional. This gay flight attendant with a hearing loss who's a little older than them. Like That's a very unconventional challenge beast, and I
Right.
really like that idea. The thing is he would have to win 2 immunities, or he would need to
Right.
win 1 immunity and win a fire making challenge, and that's hard. That is going
Right.
to be hard. So I think it's not a set in stone victory. I think if he gets there, it is, but I really think that final 4 hurdle is gonna be the toughest because final 5,
Yeah.
if he doesn't win immunity, he's probably gone, but he could find an idol. You know, he could somehow use the Erica Heather tension or even the Deshaun tension. Because at this point, I think he still has Xander on his side. He could just say, Xander, Heather, let's vote out
Right.
Deshaun or let's vote out Erica. I just worry that Final Four, like you said, he might get a little in over his head with fire, and it would make sense that he would go home in fourth.
Right.
I think he's either fourth or first. I agree. Like
Right.
I think we're both on the same page. We just have different people in first and fourth, and we have different people in third and fifth. But we have the
Right.
same idea. One is a goat, one is out in fifth, and then the other is one is the winner, one is out in fire making, and we both have Xander in second. So I think it's a very
Right.
poetic ending ranking, but
Agreed.
it'll be really interesting to see. I mean, I just can't believe it's over. I mean, it's been a really fun season, especially just watching it with you, who has
Right.
never seen it before.
It's been cool to just
Yeah,
watch for the first time.
yeah, and it'll be an interesting finale too because of the pandemic. They are going to be announcing the votes at the final tribal council. Usually,
Right.
what happens is Jeff takes the votes, says, "I'm going to tally them," and he says, "All right, I'll see you back in Los Angeles." And then it flips
Right.
to the present day, and he announces the winner live, and they have no idea, and they're
Right.
all dressed up nice. But I think the only other season where they've read it at final tribal is the one season where they had a tie where he needed to read it out because they needed
Right.
to revote and or have the last person vote again. I won't spoil that in case you go back and watch the season. And then the first season when it was like
Right.
just an experiment, they were like, "Oh, let's try this," and there was a treasure chest of money at Final Tribal Council that they were staring at the entire time.
How could
Yeah,
you
so
not?
it'll be interesting to see. And the first ever winner of Survivor was Richard Hatch, and I think it would be poetic that in the season where
It would be
it's
Ricard.
41, 4 drop the 1, it's like
Right.
Richard dropped the H, and it's Ricard.
Oh, that
So,
would be interesting.
it would be interesting. But again, really, really good players here. I think all 4 of the players that aren't Heather, so all 4 of the players in
Yeah.
this finale have a shot. Um,
Agreed.
I really do. Like even Erica, like I said, even Xander. If Xander can sell himself, he could win.
Right.
And especially if he is, if Deshaun and Ricard go out fifth and fourth, then I think
Right.
Xander could beat Erica and Heather.
Agreed.
I think it's Xander versus Erica, and I think he could outsell himself. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. Any last thoughts before we sign off?
I'm excited to watch the finale. That's really where I'm
Mhm.
at. Is I'm just
Yeah.
excited to see what's in store.
I was gonna
So
say,
we'll
are
see.
you gonna have to watch late, or are you gonna watch it on
I'm
time
gonna
on
watch.
Wednesday?
I'm gonna watch probably later. I'm gonna probably watch
Okay,
later.
okay.
So
So
no
I'll be
spoilers
watching
for me.
live on. I'll hopefully be watching live on Wednesday. There's still like
Right.
up in the air of whether or not I will have rehearsal or not. But I am pretty sure I'll be watching live. So please
Right.
mute your Twitters, people, if you are watching late, because this is one of those
Don't
things you want to go in completely blind for.
completely blind.
Because we have no idea. Because like Zach said, it is impossible to find spoilers out there,
Right.
and good because you know
I'd
what.
rather that.
Yeah, there's already going to be tons of spoilers for a movie coming out on Thursday. We don't need all
What do you
Survivor
mean?
spoilers. Oh yeah, that's right. There's no movie
Kidding.
coming out
I'm
Thursday.
kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
With this guy in it, the guy behind me right here, Doctor Strange. Zach, where can they find you on the internet?
All the same places. You've heard me say it a million times. At Zlove with 3 E's. Zila Zakaraba 39 on Twitter. At Zlove 39 on
It's all in the
TikTok.
description.
Wherever.
Yeah, you can find me all the same places as well, including here on the Dill Pickle Movie Network, where in January we will be having our inaugural MCU Trivia League match, a belt match between Zach and 2 other of my friends, JD and Kelsey. Kelsey is the co-host of the podcast, and I promise you, she will have no access to the document of questions, but it's going to be fun seeing you all do get out for Marvel trivia, especially now that Survivor will be over. And then after next week, we'll talk about Survivor. The week after, we will talk about the Bachelorette finale, and then I think in January we get Amazing Race, so we might have to do a
Oh my
cast
God. I'm
assessment. Might
ready.
have to
I'm
do a
ready.
cast assessment looking at those pairs. I think that's going to be a little harder because I don't think we'll predict who's going to go home each week. Maybe we can, but like we won't do a ranking like this because it's like they already finish in a ranking every week. It's
Right.
like there's going to be a team who's going to get to the mat first, so like that's
Right.
kind of the ranking as is. But we can talk about like our thoughts of the
It'll be
episodes and
fun.
like who we think is going to go home. It'll be super casual. Really, the only hardcore stuff for me is like Survivor. It's like, oh, I want the ranking. I want to know who's
Right.
exactly in the best position every time. But it's been fun ranking these, and again, like we're
I know.
1 point separating, so like it can
And we'll
go
be back.
any
It could go any which way.
Yeah. So here's how it goes. If Xander gets second, that's a wash because we both have him there. And then
Right.
if say Erica gets third, but Ricard wins, and Heather gets
It's gonna be a
fifth,
mess. It's
and
gonna be a mess
Deshaun
all
gets
across the
third. Yeah,
board.
I don't know. It'll be fun to tally it up once it's all said and done. But we will also have a winner for our first ever Power Rankings game, and we will play this for future seasons of Survivor. So it's not a one time thing. As long as Survivor's still on the air, we will be doing this, and
Right.
hopefully next season, one of us could take a heftier lead. But I like it being so close at the end. It's like Deshaun versus Ricard. It's literally right here. It's just Deshaun and Ricard. Which one of us is Deshaun? Which one is Ricard? We'll have to find out. We'll see you next time.